It was a quiet evening in Kansas City, Missouri. The streets were still. Shadows stretched long across suburban lawns, and a soft spring wind rattled the windows of homes nestled in the neighborhood of Northland at around p.m. on April 13, 2023. A boy walked slowly down a driveway. His name was Ralph Yarl, a 16-year-old black teenager, a gifted student, and a promising young musician. His trumpet case often felt like an extension of his arm, but that night, his hands held nothing but his phone and a slip of paper with an address on it. Ralph wasn't there for anything sinister. He wasn't casing the neighborhood. He wasn't prowling. He was simply trying to pick up his twin younger brothers from a friend's house. But in the confusing tangle of streets, he walked up to the wrong home. The numbers didn't match, but in his tired teenage eyes, they seemed close enough. Ralph stepped onto the porch, raised his hand, and rang the doorbell. Seconds passed. The faint buzz echoed inside. Behind the door, an old man stirred. Andrew Lester, 84 years old, a white homeowner who lived alone. His mind, shaped by decades of paranoia and racial bias, clicked into fear. He hadn't been robbed. No one was breaking in, but the sight of a young black male on his porch sent alarms racing through his mind. He didn't ask questions. He didn't wait to hear a word. He raised a pistol, and when the door creaked open, he fired through the glass. The first bullet struck Ralph in the head. The second pierced his arm as he fell backward, bleeding onto the concrete. The night went silent for a moment. Ralph lay motionless, his life hanging in the balance. But then, miraculously, his eyes flickered. His chest rose. Somehow impossibly he was alive. With blood streaming down his face, Ralph staggered to his feet. He ran from the porch, desperate for help. Door after door, house after house, he knocked, pleading, his voice weak but urgent. But no one opened. Fear kept them behind their curtains. Fear of the same prejudice that nearly cost Ralph his life. Finally, one neighbor, brave enough to act, answered his cries. They called 911. Paramedics rushed to the scene, and against all odds, Ralph Yarl survived a gunshot wound to the head. News spread quickly. A black teenager shot for ringing the wrong doorbell. The story was almost too cruel to be real, but it was real, and it was happening in America again. Within hours, Kansas City was burning with outrage. Crowds gathered. Protesters held up signs with Ralph's name. His picture, a young, smiling boy with a trumpet, circulated online, searing itself into the nation's conscience. The question reverberated everywhere. Would justice be served? Andrew Lester was taken in by police, but shockingly, he was released within just 2 hours. No charges, no arrest. The public erupted. Anger spilled into the streets. How could a man shoot a child in the head and walk free? Activists compared it to countless other cases young black men shot. Their killers shielded by stand your ground laws and the racial bias woven into America's justice system. But pressure mounted. Under the weight of protests, petitions, and national outrage, prosecutors acted. Andrew Lester was charged with assault in the first degree and armed criminal action. The legal battle was set. The trial became more than just Ralph Yarl vs. Andrew Lester. It became a symbolic confrontation between America's promise of justice and the deep fractures of racial injustice still haunting the nation. In the courtroom, Lester appeared frail, leaning on a cane, his white hair falling over wrinkled skin. His lawyers argued fear. They claimed he thought Ralph was breaking in, that at 84 years old, alone in his home, he panicked, but the facts were undeniable. Ralph never tried to enter. He never broke a window. He never jiggled a doorknob. He simply rang the doorbell. Prosecutors painted the act for what it was: racially charged violence. A trigger pulled not by danger, but by prejudice. Outside the courthouse, the protesters swelled. Justice for Ralph echoed in chants that shook the steps of the Missouri judicial system. The Ralph Yarl case struck a national nerve because it mirrored so many before it. Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, Tamir Rice, black youth shot, blamed, criminalized in death, while their killers leaned on fear as justification. The same story, different names, but Ralph lived. His survival made him both a victim and a witness. His voice, quiet but steady, carried weight in the trial. He spoke of confusion at night, of fear when he saw the gun, of the darkness that nearly consumed him when the bullet tore through his skull. His testimony pierced the silence of the courtroom. In Kansas City, musicians held vigils, playing the trumpet in Ralph's honor. Teachers spoke of his brilliance. In the classroom, his family holding back tears. told the world he was destined for greatness, a life almost stolen by hate. Civil rights leaders demanded reform. They pushed to re-examine stand your ground laws, arguing they provided cover for racially biased violence. Celebrities, athletes, and politicians all spoke his name. Ralph Yarl became not just a boy, but a symbol. Andrew Lester pleaded not guilty. His trial, dragging through 2024 into 2025, became a test of America's conscience. Defense attorneys argued he was old, confused, fearful. Prosecutors reminded them. Jury. Fear is not an excuse for attempted murder. The jury deliberated, knowing the nation was watching, and in the end, the Ralph Yarl case cemented itself as one of the most powerful reminders that racial injustice is not history, it is present, alive and deadly. Picture it. A courtroom fades to black, the echoes of a gavel still ringing. Outside, protesters chant Ralph's name, their signs glowing in the streetlights. The camera pulls back to the boy himself, Ralph Yarl, standing quietly with his trumpet in hand. His face scarred, but alive. His eyes heavy, but determined. The story of a boy who survived hate. The story of a nation still deciding whether justice will truly be blind. Because in America, sometimes the cost of ringing the wrong doorbell is your life. And sometimes, the only thing stronger than hate is survival.